90% of your product old PM tasks to AI, to an AI sidekick. So I was a PM, and PMs are supposed to help businesses churn change faster, so you're able to iterate. But what PMs end up doing before Gen AI is you write user stories, your developers don't like the user stories, and it becomes like a world of tickets, which it shouldn't be. It should just be quick changes. Let's rely on data. But they need it. We need it for documentation, and we need to track our user stories. That's like, as we scale, we will eventually need all of these stories and documentation. So we need to do it anyway. Product managers should never be the bottleneck for change and experimentation. We should be the promoter of it. We should promote it. You know, there are loads of memes for product managers out there who lead the change but don't implement. But we should be able to help our teams iterate faster so that our products get optimized quicker. So to do that more efficiently, we should use AI. Now, if you're new here, my name is Shen. I'm the co-founder of LaunchLemonade and director of Scale That Thing. My background is actually product delivery. So I've been a product manager for 7 years, predominantly in finance, financial services, and in fintech. And when Gen AI came out 2 years ago, it was my very first use case. The first custom GPT that I ever built was obviously like a PM GPT. And the first use case was like PM tasks. And it really freed me up. Currently, I help businesses and teams become AI first, saving a lot of time and money to launch ideas and scale. So the question is, are you still relying on manual user story creation and documentation? 90% of your tasks could be delegated to an AI. Focus on what matters more. And that is making data-driven decisions, making changes quicker, and stakeholder management. Okay, I'm ready for my demo. It's quick, 5 minutes, great. So this is my LaunchLemonade account. So for those of you who are new, once you have signed up and signed in, you will land on a dashboard, but it's gonna be blank. And I'm gonna show you how to build yours later, but this is my business dashboard. Now, I have many business tools here. So I've got customer service that does emails, the PM that does roadmap, marketing tools, an editorial team, and so on and so forth. And one of them is my user story and documentation PM. So at LaunchLemonade, we've made a lot of quick changes and data-driven decisions over the past year. And we've been able to do that by delegating those manual pesky tasks to an AI assistant or agent. And this is an example of what you could implement to do the same. So all I have to do is, for example, I want to implement a 2FA authentication on my onboarding flow. I simply ask my PM to do that, and I expect it to then create the epic and the user stories for me. So it's given me the title of my epic and then my user stories to implement 2FA. So it's followed your usual, there are many frameworks that we can use. It depends on what your developers like. The developers that I've used to work for usually likes the usual acceptance criteria, as a user should be guided through the process of setting up 2FA with clear instructions, and then the acceptance criteria. Now, I could then ask it to, can you create users acceptance definition of done for each ticket, user story, and what else is missing? Yeah, definition of done. So yeah, it took me how many ever seconds to do that. Now, depending on how you like to write your user stories, you could add in your pre-built instruction on how you design it, whether you want it to have definition of the scripts, QA, whatever you need in those user stories. So I've got my definition of done for my user stories here. Now, I want to create a documentation. So I need an integration, I need documentation for these integrations. And the same tool will then also create my detailed documentation. So in the feature, I've got the necessary information as to why I've implemented what I've implemented. And it's all going to be in one place. I ask I didn't even feed it information about Twilio or the website of Twilio, but it was able to give me a documentation of exactly how to integrate it in. So sign up to a Twilio account and output of what I need to do to be able to implement 2FA.
My question, and it's having done something very similar to what you've done here, is are you using like a back end of an OpenAI in the application and plugging that in? Obviously, you're probably defining the how you want the stories to be presented and the output, and then maybe plugging that into your own user tool, giving yourself superpowers as a product manager. Say, hey, you know what? I've got my own PM now. So
Exactly.
I know exactly what you're doing, and it's so genius when you've done this. And obviously taking it one step further, creating a user interface as well around that, which wraps it up. Thank you very much. That's brilliant.
No worries, Chris. 100%. We have 16 language models to choose from. For this for this PM, I have two PMs in my team. One that prioritizes and builds roadmaps, and then the other that does user stories and documentation. So you've got like a group PM and like a PM. So I have, for this user story and documentation, I chose GPT-4o, but I've been promoting NVIDIA a little bit. I really like it, but I think Perplexity will work as well because it has like a big repo of information from the internet. So that could work, I think, as well. And the beauty of this tool, I mean, I'm biased because obviously it's LaunchLemonade. You could switch models as you please and then test whatever you want to test for build.
But when I was doing it, I started using Bolt and Ripley, and then of recent plugging in the GPT. But I like the fact that you can switch the language model to your preference, which is good.
Absolutely. And when the models deprecate, we do the replacement for you. So you don't have to maintain your API. We just do everything for you in the back end. How I built the instruction, I was quite like particular, but I'll share the drive link with you now so that you can amend. Like I am not the one to say copy and paste my instructions, because obviously like it depends on how you like your user stories written. But I have my examples here, which I will now share with you all, my instructions rather. But how I like writing my instructions is I give it a role, detailed tasks, and then I was specific with my technical documentation, what I wanted each technical documentation to have, which was introduction, overview, setup, installation, user guide. You know, from my experience, the developers really like this, but we were in fintech, so we were quite detailed. But obviously it's up to you if you wanted that as well. And then some rules to follow, and then a specific type of output that I want it to do. Now again, not everyone likes how I write my instructions, and even myself, like after a month, I update and optimize my instructions as well based on performance. But we have a feature in LaunchLemonade called core memory. So you've made, for example, previous tickets that you might have written, and you want to like have a conversation if like something skews your data and you're curious about what happened and what could have caused it. You could brainstorm with your PM as well. Just an idea. But yeah, so that is the LaunchLemonade PM user stories and documentation. Now, because I use GPT, I don't have, for those who are new here, if you, let's say, use a different model apart from the GPT models here, we have a feature called Remember All Conversations that will just automatically remember previous conversations, which is a pretty neat feature. But if you use GPT, yeah, we have it has a separate feature called Enable Search, which then would mean that it could call from the internet. And that's it. That's what I wanted to show you today.